This episode of Hoppy on Broadway is sponsored by Figurehead Brewing Company. Figurehead's beers are focused on showcasing all the ingredients that go into beer, including malt and yeast, which are sometimes overlooked. All of their beers, from English bitters to Trappist styles to Northwest IPAs, are well balanced and highly drinkable because they want to be your neighborhood brewery and they want to see you on a regular basis. Their brewery, taproom, and beer garden are located in Magnolia, right next to Fisherman's Terminal. They are open Tuesday through Sunday, and you can find out more info at www.figureheadbrewingcompany.com or follow them on Facebook or Instagram. What's up, everyone? My name is K-Rad. I'm a rapper, producer, beer lover, and now I'm a podcaster. Podcasting about Northwest hip-hop and Northwest beer. Why? Well, I love them both, and frankly, you should too. So sit back and crack a cold one as a weekly guest and I talk about all things hip-hop and hops. This is Hoppy on Broadway. 999. No, I'm not speaking German. This is just the 9th episode of Hoppy on Broadway. Apologies for not having an episode last week. There was some scheduling conflicts with a different guest, and we weren't able to meet up in time to release a show by last Friday. But huge shout out to Figurehead Brewing for supporting this podcast this week. And I gotta say, I made a mistake in this episode in differentiating a Vienna lager and a pale lager. Figurehead gave us an awesome Vienna lager, but I described it at like a pale lager, which is horribly wrong. A pale lager is more like Budweiser and stuff. Vienna lagers have a lot more flavor. But I didn't know that, and I'm correcting myself now. Make sure to like K-Rad on Facebook for updates on all future episodes of Hoppy on Broadway, and share the podcast if you support local hip-hop music. More listens means a higher chance of getting your favorite artists on the show, and a higher chance of putting Seattle on the map as a major hip-hop contributor. Today, I'm interviewing Mitch Pfeifer, entrepreneur and producer, and throughout the show, you'll be hearing samples of tracks he's produced over the last few years. Tracks like this one. I'm teaming up with Mitch Pfeifer today to drink beer from Figurehead Brewing Co. You may know him as Empire, a music producer and sound engineer, but he's most famous for founding the Northwest clothing line and music news website, Respect My Region. Respect My Region was named this year's best online-only publication by Seattle Weekly, and Mitch continues to expand and improve the brand every single day. Mitch, how are you today?
What's up? I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
I guess just say this evening. It's getting a little dark out right now.
Right.
We're finally hitting fall in Seattle, man.
Right.
Yeah.
It's getting dark. It's definitely getting dark. It's crazy.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And right before the podcast, we were talking about how I did Iron Horse Brewing, and I wish I could have actually had on for that episode because you're from Ellensburg, where Iron Horse is based out of.
Right. You asked me, and then I saw it like that day, maybe the next day, and I was like, oh shit, that would have been the one that I recommended. But it's all good. It's good that you had something from Ellensburg, and then now you're having something else from Ellensburg. So E-Berg on the map.
Today we're drinking Figurehead, and Figurehead is based out of Seattle. It's actually based maybe a half mile from my apartment here in Magnolia.
Okay.
We're gonna start with the 1710 Saison with rosemary and lavender. I haven't tried any of these beers today. Have you had Figurehead in the past?
It sounds really familiar, but I don't know. You have it in cans. You said they don't can. So,
they don't can. So
I don't know. I'm kind of a half visual. So the logo and the name sounds familiar.
Okay.
It looks familiar. Sounds familiar.
All right.
But I'm not sure.
Cool. Well, let's give it a little taste here.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Cheers.
Let's get some beer in you, and then it's right to bed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can definitely taste the lavender in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I like it though.
It's kind of masked as a lighter beer with that flavor. The flavor kind of like knocks down the hops on it, I'd say.
Yeah. The lavender and rosemary are very strong.
Right.
But I think it goes well in a Saison, but it's definitely light. I think you're right, nailed it on the head with that it covers up the hops a little bit. Are you a big beer drinker by any means? You are.
I definitely am. I love craft beer.
Tell me some of your favorite breweries.
I just left a business meeting. Bale Breaker out of Yakima. Again, it's right next to Ellensburg, 509, 50 But Bale Breaker just happens to be, a brewery I just really like. I like Georgetown, the Manny's brewery, or Manny's brew. I really like that beer. Red Hook's a little commercial, but I actually enjoy Red Hook.
I used to drink only Red Hook when I first got my fake ID back in the day because I felt cool enough to drink craft beer.
Right.
But now I kind of see there's way better options out there.
Right. I used to pour the ESB like on every meat I cooked and thought I was like 20, 21 years old and I thought I was like high class, but I don't know. I still like the ESB, but at one point I thought it was like way more than it was.
Yeah.
Not to knock Red Hook because I like Red Hook. But,
yeah.
But there's
Northwest breweries nonetheless.
Right. I mean, when it's craft, it's smaller. There's more control. You're going to get a little bit better product. It just happens.
Yeah. So you're from Ellensburg,
right?
And you went to Central Washington University, and that's when this whole Respect My Region thing started. I know that for a while, you had the name Respect My Region in your head for a few years before actually starting the clothing line. But then, how did it actually get to the point where you wanted to say, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to kick off and start selling some merch"?
Well, first of all, Ellensburg's where it started, where I first started drinking beer. So no, I'm playing. I went to college and got my beer degree. So I had the name Respect My Region in my head. I don't know how. I know when. I dropped out of school after my sophomore year. I'd been making music since I was 15, producing music, and in college, I was fortunate enough to have my parents pay for my college. So I went, it was obvious to go, and I never felt like college was for me, but I just felt like there's so many of my friends that didn't have the opportunity. I had to take advantage of that. So halfway through college, I dropped out. I tried to pursue music full time, quit working, quit going to school and taking advantage of the financial things that come from that, and quit doing some other things I was doing, and tried to do music, and it just didn't work out. You know what I mean? For a while it worked out, but ultimately it really didn't work out because I didn't know what I was doing.
Were you based out of Ellensburg?
No, I was living in Portland. Sorry. Okay. So I moved to Portland, Oregon. And that's when, I'd been making hip hop music, but to be it's weird, grinding on AOL Instant Messenger and MySpace. So I had a lot of connections on the East Coast, nobody in Seattle, nobody in Washington, period, because I was from Ellensburg. But a lot of people on the East Coast, surprisingly. And then so I moved to Portland and started
when you say you were, sorry to interrupt, but you were, let's just get this straight, you were producing beats at the time. Is that what you mean? That's what you were doing?
Yeah, I was making beats and, selling them and producing for different rappers.
Okay. Continue.
And I grew up on East Coast stuff too, so that's kind of the big thing of like why people started hitting me from New York, and I just focused on like New York and the East Coast, Pittsburgh and stuff over there, as opposed to the West Coast. I just kind of favored that. But anyway, so I was in Portland. And as the year progressed, I just figuring out, like, I always wanted to be like Dame Dash, right? With a mix of Just Blaze. Like when I was a kid, that was like my ideal person. I love Just Blaze, for the music, and I love Dame Dash for the hustle and the business. I've been attracted to both since a very, very young age. And so I always knew I want to do clothing, kind of the Rockefeller model of like music is the main thing and the cool thing, but they also do clothing and liquor and clubs. And
it's more profitable.
And you just diversify to things that make sense and they're also cool. Hey, I'm making music, but clothing's cool too. I wear clothes, right? Clothes are cool too. Why can't I sell that? And, can I make money off of everything I'm doing?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I envisioned it. And so anyways, the name Respect My Region just came to me. I don't know how I remember specifically sitting in my living room. We lived in this like 3-story, 5-bedroom house, and it was like a straight trap house, like, college type furniture, but it's trap house, like one TV in the whole house.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in the living room, and I just thought like, man, this name is so dope. And I wanted to originally do like a Karma Loop type thing for the Northwest before I even did clothing. And then kind of just shelved the idea, you know what I mean? Just kept progressing with life, and the idea and the name stayed in the back of my head. And eventually got back into school, and the musician that I was working with, so along with like trying to be this Just Blaze Dame Dash type character that I was aspiring to be, is I was working with this artist from 15 to this is like 20. And so I produced, but I also handled a lot of business. I didn't handle everything, but I handled a lot of the business stuff. And just always trying to think, how can we monetize this more? How can we monetize this more? He ended up catching a case, and he did like a couple years, and so that kind of like trumped. All my eggs were in that basket, and he went to prison, so everything was tied up.
Oh wow.
Ended up moving back home to Ellensburg, moved in with my parents, and just kind of lost. Got back into school just so I could get back on my parents' health care and get taking care of some back issues I've had.
Sure.
And then I met a new artist, and we started grinding, and kind of what transpired from that was events. I had this idea of Instead of just grinding as an artist, if we're going throwing the event, we don't have to worry about paying to play. We don't have to worry if we put the right lineup, it's going to be a cracking show, and this artist will be in the best position. Instead of having to pay to play, we'll be able to make money off the show, and they'll be in the best place to showcase this artist. And that just transpired, and then it was like, hey, we need to make more money off this, and I was like, clothing. And my boy that done graphics for me through the music over the years, Andy Lehman, grew up down the street from me, just came to mind. I hit him up, and like 2 logos later, we had Respect My Region.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it came with like a $700 investment and like literally 2 t-shirt designs.
Just doing like screen printing, picking up a couple hundred, and then selling them to the college students.
Yeah.
It's kind of evolved from a clothing line to kind of a lifestyle and hip hop news source. Do you guys still do clothing, or is that gone?
No, we're gonna do it soon. But yeah, it's evolved to how we were originally events, and then we were kind of events with clothing. And then as we started to, like our first couple of things, we had events, so we were selling out so many clothes we didn't even have time to make a website because everything was just selling out, and we weren't investing. We were kind of turning the same flip over and over. But the clothing took its own toll and kind of almost hit a different demographic, which was great to bridge everything together. But at a certain point, we were like, this clothing is really not reaching like where we're trying to go, and really what ultimately we represent. And so we kind of just axed the clothing, and we started focusing on the blog and doubled down on that. And to be honest, we've grown like so much more. Yeah, which is something we never thought would happen. And so we're gonna do clothing again.
Okay, but where is it that you're trying to go? Where are you trying to take Respect My Region?
So I mean, Respect My Region was born out of like love and pride from where I'm from. As the Seahawks got attention, like the Northwest, like around that same time, Macklemore started to pop. You know what I mean? Like really up until that point, in terms of like urban culture, like Seattle's been severely slept on. So it just kind of came to this pride, like, man, I love where I'm from, and there's so many people here that love just local things. But ultimately, the goal is to transcend the Northwest, and to be kind of just geo-local specific. Yeah, you know, just a pride about where you're from and the things that are from where you're from. The artists, you know, when we connect, when we find an artist that's from our neighborhood or went to our college or our high school or whatever, an NBA player, whatever. It like we connect to that person instantly, right? Because we kind of be like they're from the same path as us, as opposed to some celebrity on another side of the country where we really share no sort of upbringing or story, you know?
Yeah, and speaking of the music, you guys are a lot of hip hop, right? But you've also branched out to electronic, right? And then you also touch up on just general Northwest culture and cannabis, right? How did those all factor into Respect My Region as far as its mission statement from the beginning?
You know, like again, it's just about like stuff from where you're from and pride about where you're from. And you know, and again, my involvement in you know making music for over a decade. You know, about 14 years of producing music myself. That's just my love and my passion. Yeah. And how I've grown to connect. You know, a small kid from Ellensburg, I've connected with people all over the country. You know, I talked to a lot of people about this. The music just has such a power to transcend and connect. So it's just like a big part of us. Even when we're clothing, the music was even if it wasn't involved in our brand per se. Yeah. It's just such a big thing for us. And the thing about music and our passion with music is the things that are local and are dope aren't known by the general populace of the local condition. You know, it's kind of the thing of being local is kind of a oxymoron because no one locally knows you. Yeah. You know, maybe people in the local scene, which is small. So the lifestyle and the culture and the cannabis are just things that we do and are involved with, but it's also just different ways to connect with people. Yeah. Because we share, we all share values with people over music and genres of music, sounds of music. Hey, you like Jay-Z, I like Jay-Z. You like John Mayer, I like John Mayer, whatever. But hey, there's this dude from Seattle that sounds like John Mayer, sounds like Jay-Z. And people are like, yeah, whatever. But if we can get him to connect over another common subject and then bring that into the equation, we can kind of make a deeper connection.
How have you monetized it through the website now that you're a little less on clothing? Is it now more event-based?
You know, to be honest, it was a hit for a while. It was crazy because it was a big push. One of my business partner, Joey Bravo, bitches at me daily, I gotta say that loud, about certain things that we both know. And sometimes he has the intuition to be like, yo, we need to jump. And it was a big thing for me personally. Is like, I've invested all this money into clothing to get to this certain point. How do we go to this? Like, God, it seems like we're starting, instead of like flipping these clothes and like having this money that we can keep flipping and growing, we gotta like start all over and put new money in the pot. Right. Once we did it, it took a while. It was like, it literally felt like starting a brand new company from square zero, except for the fact that we had some brand awareness. But we've been able to monetize mainly through, to answer your question in a roundabout way, we just demonstrate what we do on a local level, and then companies contract us out to do similar things for them. So Respect My Region itself doesn't even make a ton of money, but myself and my coworkers and our staff are able to monetize their work with this by using.
It's kind of like a hub where
Right.
other clients can come to you and find you guys as individuals to work with.
Right, it's a demonstration. It's like
Okay.
a working resume of like, hey, this is something that we brought attention to. That's at the end of the day, art is super hard. The hardest thing I think in my mind ever to bring to market art, music, painting, whatever it may be. That's really hard to market unless there's a pre-designed fan base or value statement to it. So if we can have success stories within that, like other products that aren't as hard to market would be like, hey, I want these guys. So yeah, we've gotten, social media contracts, creative contacts, video contracts, events. I mean, a lot of stuff. So we're just now getting to the point where people are like really trying to invest money through our platform. But up to this point, it's been monetizing through contracts.
I can spot your flaws. Add sales with the topping off. Dress well when it's time to ball. Couple hundred for my boxer drawers. Young nigga used to shop at Ross. First to shoot when it's popping off. Couple times a nigga almost got popped by Ross. Crash unit, buzz cut, ex-Marines. Crenshaw, Slauson Ave, 17. Infant Stone, Lil Shady. Baby both the fast lane demonstration. 85 colors with the 380s. Summertime functions, LA streets crazy. Shoot it out, that's what this crew about. Hanging out the Cutlass window with the Ruger out.
The next beer we are drinking is a Figurehead's Vienna Lager. There's not a big description on this that I found online, but it's a lager, so how crazy can you really get?
Right.
But, every brewery has a lager, and this, I'm actually pouring it right now, and it looks darker than most lagers
Right.
are. I mean, when you think about things like Budweiser and Bud Light and everything in between, but shall we?
Right.
All right, Brain.
Indulge.
You don't like me and I don't like you. But let's just do this and I can get back to killing you with beer.
Lighter on the finish, for sure. Lighter than it looks.
It's kind of got like a honey caramelized kind of taste to it.
Right. I would buy this for sure. I would purchase a 6-pack of this.
That's better than I thought it would be. Honestly, when they gave me a lager, I was a little afraid that it'd be kind of boring. But this is good.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. So shout out Figurehead for giving us a
Right.
lager. That's a ballsy move to give to a beer reviewing podcast.
Right. Right. Like you said, like a lager's usually lighter, but this isn't dark, but it's got a darker color, but a nice bold taste. So
Yeah. Well, we're going to play a game here called Flip the Record.
Okay.
Flip the Record is a really simple game and to give our listeners a glimpse on your thoughts and opinions on not just hip hop and beer, but really anything that might be fun to know. I'll give you 2 options. You just name the option you prefer.
Okay.
PBR or Rainier.
Rainier.
Yeah.
Because the R is just iconic. I have it in my office and studio. I got the beer light R on the wall. It's like my prized possession. So I got to go with the Rainier.
Just because of the R, or what about taste value?
I mean, yeah, taste, I'd say Rainier's a little bit better, but to be honest, I mean, I'm not trying to knock any of that. It's just in that cheap, like shitty beer.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's why I asked, because it is that go-to cheap, shitty beer.
Right. Like when I was in college, there's a lot of Keystone and like Busch Light and like
Ooh,
Rainier's
yeah.
definitely like, PBR and Olympia are steps above that.
Definitely.
So I don't know. Rainier's just a little more classic.
All
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, man, definitely. Taco Bell or McDonald's?
Man, I can proudly say I haven't ate either of those in at least half a decade.
Wow.
Maybe actually, to be honest, I'm lying. I just lied, bro. I maybe had like a McDonald's breakfast burrito like a couple years ago, but
I'm surprised you remember it, though.
I have to go with McDonald's just because I just watched The Founder the other day.
Yeah.
So I'll go
I
with
did too,
McDonald's.
actually. I just watched it. It was
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good.
I watched it like 2 weeks ago. So it was super good.
The reason I asked that because I know you're from Ellensburg and you got that Grease Row right off of I-90. And
Yeah.
every time I went to school in Spokane, so every time I came by, I'd stop there and destroy my stomach a little bit. So I know you also make beats,
Right.
and I know that you're into sampling.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say, but I don't know if you work with synthesizers. But the question is, samplers or synthesizers?
No, samplers 100%.
Yeah.
I fuck with synths a little bit myself, but I'll bring a keyboard player in usually to do that. So yeah, sample all day.
Okay.
All day.
Coffee or tea?
I don't really drink either, but coffee.
Okay. Dude, I don't know what it is with coffee or tea, but on this show, I've tried to ask, whenever we play this game, I always ask coffee or tea, and no one has just said coffee, which blows my mind, because I drink like
Right.
4 or 5 cups a day. But I guess I'm just an outlier in the hip-hop community.
Tea just has like, I don't know, what's crazy is like in the studio, I can't tell you how many times people have came to my session, and when they've shown up, some of my voice, and I'm like, okay, we're going to the store, we're going to get you some tea. Just in the same vein, though, that we started late, hey, this is a studio session, so go late, we go get coffee. But like the tea,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It does soothe the mouth,
Right.
the throat, I should say.
Right.
Gin and tonic or rum and coke?
I'm going to go with rum and coke, but I will go with gin on the rocks, Bombay Sapphire on the rocks any day over both.
All right. Hot dog on a hamburger bun or hamburger on a hot dog bun?
I've probably had the hot dog on the hamburger bun more, but I mean, I'll go with a hamburger over a hot dog any day. So I'm giving you shitty answers. But yeah, I'll go with
There are no shitty answers.
I'll go with the hamburger.
All right. Glasses or contacts?
Glasses because I've never worn contacts in my life.
Me neither. I've tried them before. I hated them.
Okay. I just got prescribed glasses like 4 years ago, and I don't really wear them that much. So
Sure.
I'm like sold on them, but like newly sold on them.
Okay.
I haven't quite got to contacts. yet,
Maybe you
so.
will someday. So you're not that blind.
No.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm incredibly blind. You know the big E on the chart?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can see.
Oh, shit.
I'm that blind.
Okay.
Money or free time?
Man, that's crucial because almost always I'll say money.
Mm-hmm.
But
Gotta have free time to spend it.
right. I'll say money because to be honest, like in my free time, I chase money. You know what I mean? So I'll just go with money.
You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You got it in your blood.
If you give me free time, I'm gonna think of ways to make money. So like I probably have to just go.
All right. Nickelback or Rebecca Black?
Wow. I'll go with Nickelback because they had some cuts when I was in high school, and I never fucked with any Rebecca Black stuff.
I think that, honestly, I mean, I don't like either of them, but I'd have to say Nickelback too, just because they're an actual band.
Right. I probably, if you put like 5 Nickelback songs on, I'd probably sing along to at least 2 of them. You know what
Really?
I mean? The hook or so, you know what I mean?
You remind me of...
I mean, you know what I'm saying? That was like when I was in high school, man. You know what I mean? So whether I wanted to or not, I heard that
Yeah,
shit. You know?
okay.
So, and Rebecca Black, nah, I mean,
Nah, no Friday.
yeah. Props to Rebecca Black, but nah.
All right. Vagina on your forehead or a bunch of dicks on your back like a stegosaurus?
I mean, I'll take vagina over penis any day. And I'm married too, so my wife can put her vagina wherever she
No. I'm sorry. It means it's literally like on your forehead or there's dicks coming out your back like a stegosaurus.
Oh, like I have a vagina on my head or I
Yeah.
have dicks. Oh, okay. I guess I could take the dick, so I just wear a t-shirt all the time. Man.
All right. Joints or pipes?
I'm doing joint every time.
Yeah.
Preferably a blunt, but I'll do a joint over a pipe for sure.
Yeah, same here. Okay, man, you've officially won the game. What I'd like to turn to now is I want to talk about an upcoming project that you're doing with the Northwest Leaf.
Okay.
You guys have Seattle's most stoned MCs.
Okay.
And that is featuring, you have Gifted Gab, Kung Fu Grip, Web Wavy, and there is one
Yodi
more,
Mac.
Yodi Mac, right? And,
Yep.
and you guys did kind of a joint cover story with the Northwest Leaf,
Yeah.
is that right? And
Yeah.
then you're also doing a group show to promote that next Wednesday at the Nectar Lounge.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
on
The
September
27th.
27th at 8 p.m.
Yep.
So tell me about that whole project and how it came together.
Man, so in order to like grow this music that we're doing through the blog and the way we're doing cannabis, I need to get with some entities in cannabis that are bigger than us. So I emailed like 5 companies. Hey, I'd love to work with you. And I said I'd love to write a guest blog on your thing. You know, so I'll write a blog post for free. I already write X amount here. They get X amount of views or whatever. And nobody emailed me back. And like the owner of Northwest Leaf emailed me back the next week, like, hey, what do you have in mind? And just 30 seconds, I was like, hey, here's an idea, but I'd love to meet up with you and talk more. And he was like, hey, that first one, I love that idea. Let's do it. Matter of fact, fuck a blog post. Let's do an article in the magazine.
No way.
And I was just like, shit, okay. Like I just thought, like I didn't even put thought into it. You know what I mean? I just wrote it like, here's an idea, let's go.
But he loved it.
Yeah, and he just liked it. And then I was like, okay, this shit, that makes sense. And so it was funny is I said I'd hit up 7 rappers and 5 came through. And we have 4, but one of them's a duo, so it's technically 5. It was I just told him first off, he said, what do you want to do? I was like, I'm gonna hit up whatever, I'm gonna confirm 7, 5 will show up. And that's just, I know rappers, you know, and I'm not trying to hate or whatever, and I'm a part of this, but they show up late, they don't show up, whatever. It just fucking happens in hip hop.
Yeah. And where was this?
So we did the article in like Soto, near the Rainier Brewery. We did the photo shoot. And I just interviewed. Like it's so crazy at this point. Like I hit up these artists, I hit up this magazine, and like I had no concrete idea. I just hit up these people, and everybody was down. And like up until the night before the photo shoot, I was like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm gonna write about. Like I have this vision of like I want it to look like an XXL type magazine spread, right? I thought of that, and I didn't even communicate that to Northwest Leaf. And then we show up, and then the shoot that we do like turns up exactly what I thought. I didn't even like it. Just I don't know. It came together so organically and so effortlessly. Compared to so much stuff I put together, it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. So did you end up doing the write-ups in the issue?
Yeah. So I do the photo shoot and like interview all the artists, and then I like do the write-up later. So like I did this magazine article, but we did the photos before I hadn't even completely compartmentalized like what the fuck are we even gonna do?
You were just gonna get photos. You had to do something,
right? But I'm with it. I'm on the fly. Whatever. Adapt. So we just moved, and then it just like happened. It just came together again so organically. And then once the magazine article was submitted and all this shit, we've been debating to do these RMR events. That's how we started out events. We need to do events all summer. With the week after, I was like, man, fuck, let's just do this lineup from the magazine. Like, and again, it wasn't even thought out. It was like, that would be perfect. Let me see if the artists are down. Okay, everyone's down. Okay, magazine, are you down? Down. And then we like move forward. Details weren't even locked in. Like some hella issues arise with the artists of like, oh, I got this show, that show.
So you guys are like driving across the bridge as it's being made.
Yes, totally. And like, thank God all these artists just like believed in the vision and had faith in me, to be honest. And I was able to sort out any concerns and issues, like setting up a show in 25 days that I would personally like to do in no less than 60. But it just like came together. It just came together. And in my eyes, it's just a really big move for nobody's done a cannabis magazine where they've curated a local lineup like this.
Right.
And then nobody's brought a local, like a lineup out of a magazine alive in a show. Just nobody's ever done that. And I didn't even like think about doing like that from the start. I just was like, fuck it, let's do it. And it just kind of happened. It was really organic. It's really crazy. And shout out to Yodi, Kung Fu, Gab, and Webb too for just like seeing the vision and just fucking with me on that.
Yeah. So what can people expect from your show? Give them a reason to come out.
Well, the
Wednesday.
show's going to be sold out. So I mean, I would come, but it's going to be cracking. And this show is literally going to be like, if you want to meet the Respect My Region crew and like our whole staff and people, I mean, I'm like not a cocky individual, but if you want to meet people that can like have an influence on your music and get you on our blog, which, a lot of people want, again, I'm not saying, oh, they need it or whatever, but like a lot of people reach out. This is a good point to come and meet us personally. This is going to be a show too, the local show, the performers. I have faith that they're going to be there and they're going to be interacting with people. They're not just going to be in the green room. They're going to be interacting. So you can meet the artists that are performing. You can meet their managers who are just powerful, you know what I mean? Making power plays all over the board. And there's going to be so many cannabis companies, owners, marketing coordinators from cannabis companies. Like, there's going to be, the people at this event are influencers. There's going to be some fans and stuff, but for the most part, in everybody's lane, like people there are going to kind of matter in some way. And I'm not trying to discredit or say people don't matter, but this is going to be not like you go to a show and there's a bunch of like fans. There's going to be a show and there's a lot of people that are like kind of influential in their own
in the
niche.
business.
Right. So yeah, it's gonna be a great fucking show. First off, like the lineup from start to finish are all solid performers and have great music. But it's going to be a great place to network, and it's going to be packed the fuck out.
I've tasted the success, I struggled through the pain. I've earned my respect, and now I'm working on the fame. Boy, it's EA, 2 T's, don't forget that ooh-wee. Hotel full of groupies, cause you know who my crew be. I'm KM, I'm killing my competition. Got the money on my mind, so it's motivating my mission. I'm sipping liquor, and I'm feeling so high. Dressed to impress, so I'm looking so fly. And yes, I'm a pretty boy, bitches know why. So you can ask Titty Boy, this is no.
The final beer of today's episode of Hoppy on Broadway is the Bigger Than Brown. It's by Figurehead Brewing. Again, shout out to them for sponsoring this episode. It is 6.7%. We're going to give each other a little pour here. Ooh, it is brown. It is bigger and browner than ever before. I don't know. I've never had this, but it definitely looks brown.
Right, it's definitely.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Homie, no function beer well without.
That's brown.
It's a brown ale.
Brown.
It's good, though. I mean, it's sweet. It's definitely got the kind of thickness a brown usually has.
Right.
Nothing really jumps, off of my taste buds for it. What do you think?
I'm not a big brown person. You know what I mean? Like, I'll order one dependent upon my meal, I guess, or like a situation. But I'm not a big brown drinker. But that's pretty good. Like you said, it's sweet. And again, it's something that the last one I would anticipate being a little bit lighter, but it's not like darker in feel, but it's a little bit darker.
Yeah.
This is something that I would anticipate to be dark and it's a little bit lighter.
Yeah. Do you
in
have
a positive way?
Yeah. It does. It's not as heavy on the tongue. I know what you mean. Do you have a favorite of these 3 beers?
I'm gonna go with the lager.
Yeah.
Because I was just thoroughly surprised with it, and it was a really good taste.
You know, I'm going to agree with you there. The Vienna lager, it's tasty. So Figurehead, you actually made me like a lager for once. So.
Right.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a little pivot here, not from the Seattle's Most Stoned MCs. Take a pivot, take a step back, and talk about Seattle hip hop on the whole. Obviously, Mitch, you're super involved with the scene. You run a blog that surrounds it. You promote shows about Northwest hip hop. You even judged Death by Stereo 3 about a month ago. And 2?
Wait, I don't know if I judged 2.
Okay.
At least 3. Maybe
Okay.
2.
Okay. Well, whatever you did, you still judged,
Right.
You got your hand in the scene. My first question for you is that I noticed on, and you were just kind of joking around. I noticed this on a Facebook comment, so I'm taking it with a huge grain of salt.
I knew this was coming.
I'm not going to talk about it's not about the white rappers thing, but it was in that because you said, I'm good if hip hop stopped after the 90s to 2000s.
Okay.
Which to me, when I read it, it's not that surprising. People who grow up in that era when they're in high school or even middle school, that's the music they take up until they're dead. Right? You stick with that music forever. That's not surprising. But my question is, does that cloud your judgment when you are writing for the blog and reviewing different artists and deciding on who's dope and who's not?
Yes and no.
Okay.
From the standpoint of it's funny how you put that. You know, you grow up on that you didn't really, and to this point I didn't really think of it. You grow up on that on such a significant portion of your life, right? Your high school is like the experiences at that point like really, really shape you, right? So the music is so much, so connected with your life and your emotions is at that point like that music emotionally connects with such significant points in your life that you just carry that with you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like for, I listen to EPMD and stuff and I just know like it takes me back to like these points in my life or whatever, and so, that's just what I grew up on, late 90s, early 2000s is when I was like a, more aware individual, human being on earth and consuming things. And I just loved the music of that time. And it's still the most of what I listen to, 70s soul music and probably late 90s, early 2000s music. So it does cloud to an extent in the fact that I like that and I favor that. But at the same time, I am fully aware that my personal taste have absolutely fucking nothing to do with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing with clothing. It's funny as Respect My Region went along, like even at this point in my life when we do clothes and we start talking as a group and people I'm like, I like this. And I was like, but to be honest, whatever I'm saying, it's probably the exact opposite. But I'm able to recognize that.
Right.
So, my wife is like real big on like commercial music,
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like she liked Cardi B like early on. So like when my wife was like, yeah, Cardi B, she told me, she put me onto Cardi B. I was like, man, Cardi B's about to pop. Because if my wife is like campaigning for a rapper, she's about to, she's not popped already, she's gonna pop. And that's like one of the few things where like early on I'd hear and I'd be like, nah. But once the culture's like moving that way, I can't deny that.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And you want to cover it because it's what your audience wants.
Right. And I'm also in tune with like, I hear this, I don't fucking like it at all, but that's where culture's going. I can hear some shit that's more aligned with the early 2000s that I like, but also be like, yeah, that's dope as fuck, but nobody's gonna like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm able to distinguish that.
You're able to know the limits of your own taste,
Right.
and you can distinguish that line between your taste and the rest of the world's taste.
Right.
That's
That-
good to hear because
right.
you are an influencer, and you need to know that. As me as a I majored in journalism, so or broadcast journalism, so I know that there is a responsibility you have when you have this kind of influence, which Respect My Region does.
Which is funny because like the white rapper thing, just, I'm not scared to touch on it or whatever, but I made that comment and like,
let's back up for a second because we didn't actually cover what
Okay.
you said, which was something you want to say what you said.
Yeah, so I just said a Facebook, I don't know, like sometimes like I don't really tweet. I treat Facebook like kind of just is my personal social media outlet. So it's kind of my Instagram, my Twitter. I don't even have a personal Instagram. If you know me or have been following me for a long time, I've been saying that shit about white, and it's not to throw shade at
Right.
white rappers, but I just said I don't know what I said.
It's like we need more white rappers, like we need
food with a lack of seasoning.
Yeah, or with unproperly seasoned or something like
Which
that.
is just, a joke on race in general. My wife's African American, and like we argue over seasoning all the time, and she's right. And I'm not trying to say all black people favor seasoning, but I've been to black barbecues and white barbecues, and I'll tell you that the seasoning lands in one favor. You know what I mean? It's not racially charged. I'll just tell you from my personal experience.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people got so triggered over it.
Oh my God. And I didn't anticipate,
No, it was
I
a little
didn't anticipate any
it
of
was,
that.
I mean, and when you explain yourself, you basically said that it comes from a sonically speaking,
Right.
the sound of their voice, which I get. Like, I'm a white rapper. I wasn't offended because, like, it's true that the white rappers can kind of sound nasally sometimes. They kind of sound douchey, and I mean, it's just a matter of opinion as well.
And I come from an engineer, a producer, a marketer, a fan of hip hop from like its core, you know? So like the statement's funny, but I think it's true. I'm not, and that's the thing, like people took a lot of offense, and it's crazy because like one of my favorite rappers out is this dude B White from Pittsburgh, right? Like literally one of my favorite rappers. And
You've produced for him,
and I
right?
produced for him
Yeah.
a lot. And so it's just like funny where people like attacking me, and I'm like, look, like
Yeah.
I'm just saying like as a blog, we get approached by, and that's the thing too. I'm promoting hip hop culture in the Northwest, and we get approached by so many white people. Like I'll be completely honest here, that it affected me a certain way where I was just like, man, like there's so many white people in hip hop that are being allowed that platform, and not some of it's talent, but some of it also is the fact that like even in hip hop, the white guy is more acceptable than the street guy. Not saying, I mean, obviously, you know, Gucci Man talking about certain things doesn't touch or affect everybody, whereas G-Eazy, like pretty much hip hop can fuck with that in the general consensus. And I like G-Eazy too. You know, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I actually like G-Eazy. I don't listen to him, but I really do like his music. I think he's very talented, but it's just that, I don't know, a lot of people are allowed that platform, and there's so many like white rappers coming out and there's so many, you know, and I hate to make it racial, but black rappers that are slept on in Seattle. And let alone just black rappers, like street rappers. Even like Avatar Darko's a white guy, but he's street as fuck, you know? Like, he's slept on for the simple fact that Macklemore pops out here because we're a very white metropolis, very hipster, very, you know, high income level. What Macklemore talks about, a lot of people associate with. What people of a lower class talk about, only 10% of the population out here really associates with, or whatever the, you know, I don't know the population. But so, just as our blog, you know, a lot of these other outlets and shows show a lot of love to, like, you know, a lot of bills are a lot of white rappers. So it's got to a certain point where I was like, man, like this is like a lot, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just necessarily me, because I feel like we do a good job of showing everything regardless, but there's a lot out here that like indirectly, subconsciously shows love to like white things that target a white audience.
Right.
know?
Well, like you said before, it's more accessible because, I mean, there are a lot of middle class white people here in the Northwest, and like you said, also it is subconscious. I think that they can identify with someone who looks more like them, who sounds more like them. Whether or not they're talented or not is a different question. But I can see where you're coming from in this kind of sense.
And that's like, you know, I'm a big, like I said, I'm a big soul, 70s soul fan, right? And like, and I'm not trying to, you know, and it's like one of those things I hate bringing race into, but like, what white guy was killing it in the 70s in soul music? You know, I can't think of any. And when we think of like rap music and at its core, like the real soulful nature of rap music, like what white guy was really killing it in that vein? There's not very many. And it just comes down to that vocal, like I said, that vocal tone, and that there's certain things that are around it. And what attracted me to hip hop was like the aspiration and the hunger and the hustle.
Yeah.
And
the strength.
Right. And I don't, you know, I'm not from the trap. I don't identify that. But when, you know, Nipsey or Jeezy or these people be talking about hustling and working hard, like I identify with that aspect of the music.
Yeah.
And I connect with the authenticity of the way it comes about.
Yeah.
And so I just don't connect with that certain ways personally with a lot of other people that be just talking what they're talking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it was like a joke, but there's a little bit of truth behind it. And it's just crazy how like people got really butthurt over it. Like really butthurt.
Dude, there was some fucked up shit that people put on that thread that was just like, what's your IQ, bro? Like, how do you even own a computer? Like,
and at the end of the day, I'm a white guy in hip hop.
Yeah.
Like, why are you coming at me? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, people literally call me racist, and I'm just like, damn.
I think
okay.
I think and you know, I'm a white guy too, but I think that there are some people out there who want a chance to get mad about their own race when they're white,
Right.
Because they're always, you know, you're in history, obviously white people were fucking shitty, and so then when they get a chance nowadays to get lash out, I think they kind of go after it.
And I feel it. Like early on, you know, I grew up and spent a lot of time, you know, live with in hip hop. I've been the only white guy in the group a lot, you know, a lot. And so like, you know, when you walk down the street and like two black males acknowledge each other, they give each other the head nod, they don't know each other, they give each other the head nod, the dap, whatever. That same component comes into the studio, when I walk into the studio with my crew and I'm the only white guy and everybody kind of says what's up and I'm kind of in the corner like forgotten about, right? Until the beat comes on and then all of a sudden everybody's like, damn, who's that? And at first, you know, I didn't publicly lash out, but it frustrated me and I didn't understand it, you know? But again, I didn't understand it because I'm not from that. I'm in a culture that's not mine. And when I step into that room, doesn't matter that I'm in the culture. This culture is still not mine.
Yeah.
So the people in that culture really identify with one another first. And then once it's demonstrated, like, okay, this dude kind of understands or gets it or whatever, then I get my dues. And I think a lot of white rappers just like, and I mean, again, I'm not discrediting them, but they feel like, oh, because I'm white and I'm in hip hop, I'm discredited, so I identify with the black struggle because you're you know what I mean? And I don't think they consciously think that, but they subconsciously think that. And then like when I post shit like that, they like lash out, and it's like, I just think you're missing the whole point.
Yeah.
Like the culture that you're really involved with, I think you missed the whole point of the whole culture.
I think also that the people who did comment on your status are those type of people who
Right.
want to get in an argument.
Right.
But just let's shift gears a little bit until we get too deep, because I do want to talk about more Seattle
Right.
hip hop.
Sorry.
No. I love the explanation. It was great. And I'm glad that people are going to be able to hear it as well. In 2014, you did an interview with Studio Leak, and you were saying you're excited because Macklemore blew up and that the Northwest was ready to blow up as well. You cited a few different rappers, two of them being Soul and Nacho Picasso. But since then, we haven't seen a huge blow up from the Northwest. Why do you think that is, and what do you think it's waiting on?
You know, Soul is somebody I knew early on in his rise and saw the potential in him early on. He's kind of taken breaks from music, and I don't really know completely, but I feel like music hasn't been the forefront of his life.
I'm pretty sure it hasn't, because he quit for a while just to go travel.
Right. And then after that, he put music out, and I feel like he almost like, I don't know what happened, but like he quit again, I feel like, to focus on life, which is great, you know, live life.
Yeah.
So I feel like Soul's like rise to whatever has only been stumped by like himself figuring things out, which I mean, he's not lost a step at any point.
Yeah.
Nacho has really engraved himself in a niche, you know, with the personality he is and the music he is. And when he linked with Harry Fraud and Surf School, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be go potential. But at the same time, Harry Fraud and Surf School is kind of underground and niche in itself. And so like, I was a little excited of someone from Seattle being associated with something a little bit bigger than Seattle. But at the same time, it was the potential, the ceiling for that is not as high as other things. The Northwest is still getting slept on, you know? And I think it's a lot of artists out here don't understand the music industry, which I think it's ever evolving. So none of us fully understand, but there's a lot of lack of experience out here. With Jay Moore's passing, you know, RIP, he was one of the few that was able to navigate that. And he's gone, you know, and I don't think there's a lot of like tastemakers out here that really have those connections and that know-how.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of artists that have their marketing on point and have a team on point that are ready to, in music and in culture, in the culture we live in is based on momentum. And you have to curate and build momentum. And then when momentum comes, you have to be able to fucking capitalize and throw dollars and throw hours at it to take that momentum to leverage to get to the next point.
Yeah.
And I love and respect everybody out here doing it, but 90% of artists out here don't even have the means to capitalize on momentum if they were handed it.
Yeah.
They've made moves and they've featured with people and they've had shit hosted by people and they've done whatever, and that, you know, I feel like they're 90% of the way there, but that they're missing 10% to really push it over the edge. And then again, my cynical nature is like, if they did push it over the edge, do they even have the means once they push it over the edge to really take it to the next level?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so much is involved in luck.
Right.
You know?
But I mean, say you get momentum tomorrow and you're a rapper and you're a single dad and you got 2 kids, you know what I mean? You're tomorrow. It's like, I need, you know, in order for you to take tomorrow to like the rest of your life, you need to have no strings attached. And I'm not knocking anyone that's a father or anything like that, but it's like, if you got kids and no financial stability and
it's gonna be harder.
and no backing,
You won't have the opportunity someone else
You're
would
not
have.
able to just be like, oh, tomorrow, LA,
Yeah.
cool, I'm gone. And I'm willing to just fucking eat top ramen on a couch for the next month until like my shit's really propelling. And not a lot of people are at that point. It's not necessarily kids or whatever, but there's a lot of factors into that.
Right.
And I don't think they understand that.
Yeah.
And that's with marketing and branding and products in general is it's momentum. Everything is fucking momentum. You know what I mean? I can predict, right? I put all my money in Steph Curry's basket, right? I give him 300 fucking million. He's going to be the face of whatever Under Armour shoes, right? What's to say he doesn't fucking tear his ACL next season?
Yeah.
And then Under Armour brand's fucking done. Who the
Yeah.
fuck else do we have? Nobody. You know what I mean? And Steph Curry ain't coming back. You know what I mean? And he might, you know, or whatever. But it's a lot of people don't think think and anticipate like that. It's got to be a strategy, a loose-based strategy willing to adapt and capitalize on momentum.
Yeah,
and
just like any business.
Right, just like any, and that's the thing. Like, people get so clouded. Oh, it's music. It's music. It's like, no, this is fucking business.
Yeah, if you actually want to blow up, and that's if you want to.
Right.
You really got to plan it out.
Right. If you want to make this your living, it has to be a business.
Yeah.
It's still an art. It's the art of business and the business of art, but it has to be a business.
Yeah.
And if you think about it too artistic, it won't be a business.
Well, on that note, I'm going to say that this wraps up our interview today. That was a great note that we ended on. That this love is a business, as said by the physics. You got to hustle. You got to have a business plan and be willing to adapt. You heard it from Mitch Pfeifer himself. Remember to check out and bookmark respectmyregion.com for all the latest news and opinions on hip hop and electronic music, Northwest culture, and cannabis. Also, be sure to come out next Wednesday, September 27th at 8 p.m. to the Nectar Lounge to see Gifted Gab, Kung Fu Grip, Web Wavy, and Yodi Mac for Seattle's most stoned MCs. Mitch Pfeifer, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Man, I'd just like to say, follow us. If you want anything or do anything, just reach out, man, DM. That's what we do to people that are bigger than us. And I'm surprised all the time the people that like reach out to us just super inauthentically and don't follow up, or like send us an email and don't get a response and just give up there. Like, man, be relentless.
Keep at it.
Yeah, I'm relentless. If you're relentless, I will notice that.
I did that to you.
Yeah, and I mean, I responded, and I liked what you did too. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, I don't care if you got 50 listens on each of your songs, but you approach me and like I look at your shit and it's like your shit's right, and you approach me right, I will fuck with you off. Like, I don't care about plays. I don't. I mean, to a certain extent, I'm not going to deny someone's getting 10,000 real plays. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're getting 100 plays, but you're doing it consistently, and in my eyes, you're doing it right, and you approach me right, like, there's no way I'm not going to hit you back. There's literally no way.
Well, thank you again, Mitch Pfeifer, so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Hoppy on Broadway. My name is K-Rad, and until next week, peace.